break it. Open it! Door. Hands! Let me see your hands! Step out here! Step out! Step out!
Get him.
Get him on the ground.
Shield.
Get on the ground!
Shield.
Blood in the bed, blood in the bed. Blood in the bed, man. Hey, here she is.
Got her. We got her. We got her.
We got her.
Oh. Yes.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it out. Bring it out. We're trying. I got it. She's in custody. We have her.
Hey guys, wow. You open your eyes and there's a red flicker on the wall. It's not the sun. It's the reflection of ICE tactical lights bouncing off your neighbor's window. You sit up fast, heart beating like a jackhammer, and hear it. The sound of boots, at least 6 sets pounding down the hallway. Then a voice calm, clipped loud, saying something about a warrant. Another voice screams. A child cries. A metal door slams so hard it shakes the foundation. You rush to your own window and catch a glimpse. A woman in handcuffs, barefoot, holding her child in one arm and a crushed grocery bag in the other. Her husband? Already in the van. It's 4:07 a.m. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was at the school fundraiser last week. Her boy, Mateo, plays soccer with your nephew. There were no warnings, no red flags. But now her apartment door is wide open and the lights inside are flickering like the power's about to go out, maybe forever. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know who's here and when. And let's go on the journey of today's story together. You feel the weight of your own breath now. You're not undocumented, but you know what's coming. That knock can come for anyone whose name pings the system, even if the system is wrong, especially if the system is wrong. A 2025 ICE directive buried deep on their official website gives new field agents discretionary power to conduct pre-dawn raids without notifying local jurisdictions if they perceive a pattern of repeat presence. Repeat presence, that's it. Not a crime, not a charge, just a human being's existence. And as you sit back down, hands trembling, you realize something awful. This isn't the story of a raid. This is the opening scene of a nationwide sweep and nobody's safe from the knock. You don't even need to check the news. The numbers have already crept into your group chats, your local council meeting, your niece's 6th grade civics homework. Over 32,000 arrested in 50 days, she reads aloud, her tiny voice barely wrapping around the enormity. She asks what it means. You can't answer, because what it means is a nation on lockdown and not for a virus this time. The campaign began in early July, framed by DHS as a targeted effort to protect American communities. They named it Operation Second Gate. The press release is vague. It talks about criminal aliens, gang members, threats to homeland security. But when you scroll to the bottom, there's a single footnote. Inclusion in this operation is not limited to individuals with criminal convictions. That's the part you circle. You learn that ICE's Field Operations Manual was quietly updated in June. It now encourages officers to fulfill daily arrest quotas unofficial, of course using broad interpretations of removable aliens. The agents are younger now, many fresh from military service. One even posted a TikTok the night before a raid, captioned, "Let's go get 'em." It got 64,000 likes before being taken down. You saw it. You still remember the music. The scope is staggering. Over 4,100 raids in Texas alone. Nearly 2,000 in Florida. Another 6,800 in New York, California, and Illinois combined. The Los Angeles Guardian Watch Coalition reported seeing 11 vans circling Boyle Heights in one 72-hour period. The eerie thing? No one knows how many of those taken even had records. ICE refuses to disclose the breakdown. They say that data is operationally sensitive in a democracy. And just last week, according to the Marshall Project, 2 agents mistakenly arrested a legal permanent resident outside a Safeway in Mesa, Arizona. He'd been flagged for walking pattern irregularities caught by SmartLink's facial surveillance. You blink. That's a thing now? You realize the narrative isn't just about safety, it's about scale. It's about velocity. And it's about a silence that makes you complicit if you don't speak up. You remember Miguel because of the way he used to sing while stacking dishes. Not loudly, just a hum. A quiet rhythm you'd catch walking past the back entrance of Tony's Diner in Queens. He always wore the same maroon apron, always nodded good morning to the sanitation crew. That's why it hits so hard when he disappears. No one saw him leave. No one heard a struggle. All that's left behind is a trail of onion skins near the sink and his jacket folded neatly by the prep table. You hear later that it wasn't a raid, it was a targeted extraction, executed in under 4 minutes. Surveillance footage shows him stepping outside to toss the garbage. A black SUV pulls up. 2 men get out. He raises his hands instinctively. They cuff him. He doesn't resist. The manager watches it later and says they didn't even ask who he was. Miguel's wife Anna posts about it the next day. The post gets flagged for sensitive content. It's a blurry photo of their daughter's drawing. Stick figures holding hands, a big blue heart overhead, and the words, "Come home soon, Papa." Anna writes, "He has no record. He pays taxes. Our daughter starts kindergarten Monday." ICE claims Miguel matched an outstanding order of removal from 2009, but Anna's lawyer finds that order was for a different Miguel Gonzalez, born in 1967, not 1983. The real Miguel had been fingerprinted during DACA processing in 2012, but he never got approved. The system didn't update, or maybe it didn't care. Meanwhile, Wired reports that ICE is using a new AI matching tool in test cities like New York called Halo. It cross-references DMV, utility, and rideshare data to create predictive arrest profiles. No warrants needed. When Anna calls the ICE hotline, the agent tells her he's in transit. She asks, "Where?" They hang up. You think of Miguel's apron, still folded, like he planned to come back. You sit down with the data. Cold, clinical, silent. Just numbers on a screen until they start to breathe. Track Immigration, the independent research group out of Syracuse University, has done the work the government won't. They file FOIA requests, scrape court records, compare ICE press releases with actual court outcomes. And what they found is terrifying in its clarity. 61% of those arrested in the first 50 days of Operation Second Gate had no criminal convictions. None. Not even traffic violations. And those who did? Over half were nonviolent misdemeanors, including expired registration, fishing without a license, or entering a public building after hours. One man in Ohio was booked because he'd been previously ticketed for riding a bicycle without a headlamp. That ticket was from 2008. But when you flip to the ICE.gov press releases, you see a different story. ICE nabs dozens of threats to public safety, repeat offenders removed. It's like you're living in two Americas, one data-driven, one fear-driven. What makes this worse is how the numbers are manipulated. ICE classifies anyone who crossed the border illegally as a criminal, even if that crossing was their only offense and happened decades ago. They also count pending asylum seekers as removable aliens, skewing stats to imply mass lawlessness. The same week Track released their report, the New York Post ran a front-page headline, "Deported and Dangerous ICE Unloads NYC Scum." The lead story? One man charged, not convicted, of shoplifting earbuds. Meanwhile, a ProPublica investigation uncovers a curious omission. ICE's public dashboard suddenly stopped updating mid-July. When questioned, a spokesperson said, "We are transitioning platforms." But a leaked internal email reveals it was an intentional freeze to avoid adverse narrative outcomes during enforcement surges. Numbers aren't neutral. They never have been. In the hands of those seeking control, they become weapons shaping policy, distorting truth, and justifying force. So now you know, the story isn't what ICE says it is. It's what they don't say. And you begin to wonder how many Miguels are out there, nameless, voiceless, buried under the weight of a spreadsheet. You're driving home and you hear it on talk radio. Why should we care if ICE is just enforcing the law? The caller sounds confident, angry. They shouldn't be here anyway. The host agrees, says it's about order, not emotions, says that Americans have to get tough. You turn the volume down, but the voice keeps echoing in your skull. This is the heart of the debate, isn't it? The legalists versus the humanists. On one side, there's the argument that the law is the law. Immigration codes are public, enforcement is protocol, and national sovereignty demands borders. And you get it. You really do. No one wants chaos. No one wants gang members strolling through school zones. And yes, some people ICE arrests do have serious records. But is that the rule or the excuse? The problem is, the system doesn't just enforce. It generalizes. It classifies. It operates on shadows and shortcuts. And in that shortcut, people get erased. Take the story from WLWT Cincinnati, where ICE detained a teenage girl for over 12 hours because her birth certificate was smudged and appeared falsified. She was born in Kentucky. Or the Texas case where an asylum seeker was deported mid-appeal. His court date was next week, but his file got overlooked. His lawyer had to call the embassy to find out what plane he was on. There are two Americas here, one that sees these stories as tragic exceptions, another that sees them as the rule. The first group says, this isn't about race or cruelty, it's about the law. The second replies, the law isn't neutral if it's applied inhumanely. And you're caught in the middle. You believe in rules, but not in systems that treat people like trash bags on the curb, collect, contain, disappear. You remember a quote from a judge in Tucson. A nation's character isn't judged by how it treats its safest, but how it treats its most vulnerable. So ask yourself, if a mistake costs someone their family, their job, their future, shouldn't the system carry some of that burden too? You keep thinking, what happens to people after the van drives away? The story doesn't end there, it just goes underground. Miguel, for instance, was taken first to a local ice field office where he sat handcuffed to a metal bench for 9 hours. No food, no phone call. Then he was flown in shackles to the South Texas Detention Complex, an ICE contracted facility operated by Geo Group. You look it up, it's in Pearsall, Texas. Population 10,000. Closest legal aid, 90 miles away. In this one facility alone, 1,400 people are held. They're not inmates, legally speaking, just civil detainees, which means there are no sentencing standards, no mandated release dates, no official charges, just a gray space, an indefinite waiting room between freedom and deportation. Some have been here for months, others years. You find a story from the Marshall Project about a Honduran mother who had a seizure in her bunk. The medical staff wrote it off as anxiety. She later collapsed in the shower. Her name was Juliana. She died waiting for a neurologist that never came. Then there's the technology. Ever since 2022, ICE has expanded use of SmartLink, a mobile app that tracks 180,000 plus immigrants with facial recognition and live location pings. People under alternatives to detention must check in 3 times a day. One glitch, one missed ping, and they're flagged as non-compliant. You read about a Guatemalan truck driver in Bakersfield who lost signal while hauling grain. The app flagged him. ICE showed up at 2 a.m. His 2 sons watched through the cracked bedroom door. And even after deportation, it doesn't stop. Families left behind can't access their bank accounts. Children lose health care. Ana, Miguel's wife, was dropped from her local food assistance program because he was listed as the household's income source, and now he's gone. This isn't just arrest. It's obliteration, not only of a person, but of their footprint, their stability, their ecosystem. ICE doesn't just take the body, it pulls the thread that unravels everything. You sit with it all now, the screaming at 4 a.m., the missing apron, the numbers, the faces, the echoes, and it hits you. This didn't start in 2025. You trace the lineage back, like layers in an archaeological dig. Biden kept many of Trump's enforcement structures. Trump expanded on Obama's deportation machine. Obama inherited Bush's detention contracts. Bush built post-9/11 national security laws. Clinton passed the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform Act, which created the foundations of mass removals. Reagan, he gave amnesty, but also militarized the border. And it doesn't stop there. You find an archived C-SPAN clip from 1984, then Senator Joe Biden, talking about immigration discipline. He looks tired or determined or both. And you wonder, how many of these men knew what their words would become? It's not just policy, it's philosophy. This country has spent 4 decades treating borders like moral fences. You're in or you're out, worthy or not. One side gets Fourth Amendment protections, due process, a trial. The other, a knock, a van, a cage. And you realize how the words we choose shape the outcomes we justify. Alien, illegals, catch and release, family units. Bureaucracy makes the brutal sound boring, like an accountant describing torture. Even tech plays a role now. ICE's internal social media app, GuardianNet, lets agents post real-time updates during raids. One post reads, 9 apprehended before 6 a.m., Good Friday. Another, the little girl cried when we cuffed dad, broke me for a second. But the replies, thumbs up, flexing biceps, badges. There's a kind of numbness that happens in institutions, a moral sleepwalk. You remember something from that college ethics class, the Milgram experiment. People will shock strangers if the voice of authority says it's necessary. And now you wonder, what's the modern version of that lab? Maybe it's a detention center. Maybe it's a chat room. Maybe it's the silence you hear after the van drives off. Because when the laws are cold, the enforcement becomes colder. And unless someone pulls the emergency brake, we keep sliding deeper into a future we'll someday call history and regret. You stand outside Miguel's old diner one more time. The neon open sign still buzzes. A different dishwasher is humming now. Same maroon apron, different name. You look at the cracked sidewalk where Miguel was last seen. You half expect him to walk out the back door, wiping his hands, squinting into the sun. But he doesn't. You scroll through Anna's latest update. No lawyer, no location, no news. Just a sentence. We pray every night, but silence is the loudest answer. Her daughter has stopped drawing. She started wetting the bed again. You pause, you breathe, and you realize this isn't just a story about ICE or immigration or law. It's a story about what kind of country you live in, what kind of country you allow to exist. Because the statistics don't move people, stories do. Faces do. The sound of a child asking, "Where's my dad?" does. And that's the call to action. You start by talking. You tell your neighbor what happened. You bring Miguel's name into the conversation at the school board meeting. You donate to an immigrant bond fund. You read the fine print on local candidates. You stop scrolling past headlines like ICE arrests an undocumented surge and start clicking, reading, naming the humans inside. You amplify the facts. 32,000 arrests in 50 days, the majority with no convictions. You say it out loud. You put it on social. You ask people, did you know? You challenge the sanitized language detention facility becomes civil cage. Removable alien becomes neighbor. You don't have to burn down buildings. You just have to stop letting silence win. And if you think one voice doesn't matter, remember this. Every name spoken is a life defended. Every fact shared is a barrier against propaganda. Every human face remembered is one less lost to the system. So say his name, Miguel. Say hers, Anna. Say theirs, all 32,000. Because a future without memory becomes a machine. And right now, you are the gear that can jam it. Now, slow it down. Let the noise fade. Imagine the street empty again. That 4 a.m. silence returning, no boots, no vans, just wind. The kind that bends flagpoles and whispers through locked doors. You made it this far. That matters. You've witnessed a system many never see. One designed to operate behind tinted windows and acronyms. But you stayed. You listened. You asked the right questions. And maybe now you carry these people with you, not as headlines, but as real souls who once stood where you stand. It's easy to feel small in the face of it all. Bureaucracies are big, brutal, relentless, but they're made of people. And people can choose, can speak, can act. You don't need to know the whole solution. You just need to hold on to the truth and share it. So take a moment, light a candle, send a message, post a link, donate $5. Tell one person what you learned. And when the world moves on, as it always does, resist the urge to forget. Because forgetting is how systems survive, and remembering is how justice begins. This was one story, one out of 32,000. Let's not stop here.